In 2020, a few sectors stand out as clear winners, and one of them is gaming. The nationwide lockdown and remote living led to a surge in online gaming. From $2 billion in 2019, India's gaming market is expected to grow fourfold to over $8 billion by 2024. And that's an annual growth of 35%. India is now among the top 5 mobile gaming markets in the world, with 365 million online gamers in 2019, which have been estimated to increase to 440 million in 2 years. In 2019, 5.6 billion mobile gaming apps were downloaded in India, and that represented 13% of total game downloads worldwide, according to a FICCI EY report. In fact, gaming has accounted for almost 6% of the time spent by users in 2019 across content categories on mobile phones. So cheap data, high speed, affordable smartphones, a robust microtransaction payment system, and even the advent of real money, skill-based games is keeping gamers hooked. The launch of local games like Ludo, Carrom, and cricket have also helped widen the gaming net. Now, Nazara Technologies has been one of the poster boys for India's tryst with gaming, from games for kids like Chota Bheem, Motu Patlu to e-sport with World Cricket Championship and early learning applications. The gaming company models itself on China's leading gaming conglomerate, Tencent. With over 100 million monthly active users and 300 million app downloads from over 60 countries, Nazara has truly come of age. Hello and welcome to India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shireen Bhan, and joining me today are Nitish Mittersen, the founder and MD of Nazara Technologies, Manish Agarwal, the CEO at Nazara, and the man who has backed Nazara right through its journey, Sandeep Singhal, the co-founder and MD of Westbridge Capital. Nitish, Manish, and Sandeep, many thanks for joining us here on the show. Nitish, let me start by asking you, when you were 19 and you decided that gaming was going to be a means to take your entrepreneurial plunge, did you imagine that today you'd be talking about a several billion-dollar opportunity, 100 million daily active users? I mean, what was the aspiration then, Nitish, at 19 when you started?
Sure, Shireen. So, for me, when I plunged into gaming in college while I was studying at SITM at 19, I think the thought was very much what I really am seeing happen today, which is, that gaming would be big in India at some point of time. When I started way back in 99, 2000, I didn't really realize that for the industry to arrive, it would take, maybe a decade or more. But I think, we are just getting started. We're getting there. The industry has grown now. A lot of factors have really helped over the last 3-4 years. But I think, really the dream that I had when I started Nazara is, coming to be true. Not just for us, but for the industry in its own. And I really think we're just getting started.
Just getting started, and I'll talk to you about the future in just a second. But here's an interesting story for those of you who don't know. Nitish has been on Young Turks, Nazara has been on Young Turks way back then, and I think we had a role to play in Nitish and Sandeep hooking up. Nitish?
Correct. So I don't even know if Sandeep remembers this, but I was featured on Young Turks in sometime in late 2004 or early 2005. And the next morning, this show broadcasted in the evening, and next morning I had a note on my table saying, there was a call from Sandeep at Westbridge, and I called him back. And he had seen me on TV and he wanted to learn more about Nazara and what we were doing. So, of course, you really played a matchmaking role for us. And it's been a great journey thereafter, the next 15 years.
Yes, it certainly has been. And Sandeep Singhal, we were happy to play matchmaker. We really should charge a finder's fee for all these great stories that have been put together courtesy Young Turks. Sandeep Singhal, what was it that attracted you to Nitish?
Well, absolutely, Shireen. You should definitely consider change of business model and start charging finder's fee. But basically, I remember that evening I was flipping channels and I watched Young Turk off and on. And obviously that was when it had just started. Indian venture capital ecosystem was very young. And it was very few people who were known at that point of time as entrepreneurs. And when Nitish came on, he was 19 or he was like 20 something, but he looked like 17, 18, 19. And I was quite taken at how he thought about his business, how he thought about the gaming opportunity. He had very little revenues at that point of time, if I recall, about 25 lakhs. But something about the way He spoke about the opportunity on that program that got me thinking, and I called him next morning. That's how it all began. Thank you very much. We'll send you a thank you card for sure. I don't know about the founder.
Yes, please do. But speaking of investors, and Sandeep is one of them. Manish, let me talk to you about the opportunity and the road ahead now. Investors for Nazara now include, of course, the likes of IIFL, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, and many others. So let's talk about what this opportunity looks like from here on, Manish. I read out a whole bunch of numbers in terms of the kind of explosion and growth that we're seeing for the gaming industry here in India. You've had a great period, not just here in India, but globally as well. The gaming industry has seen big gains on account of the lockdown and, of course, the restrictions imposed because of the pandemic. So what does the playbook now look like, Manish?
Thanks, Shireen. It's a wonderful story. I thought I will just continue listening to the Jugalbandi of Nitish and Sandeep. Lovely story. But I think, as Nitish said, the 20 years, we have been waiting for this moment to arrive. Gaming is just ticking off. And from Nazara's perspective, we just believe that it's the start of a glorious next decade for gaming, where you will have a lot of esports happening, where a lot of people will not understand what's happening, but a lot of them will really get really taken in, especially your millennials and Gen Zs, who will be watching others playing mobile games on their mobile devices, like today people watch cricket matches. That's what is really going to happen in India, and very soon that is going to really disrupt the sports spectator scene completely. And gaming has already kind of disrupted your Bollywood already in terms of revenues and reach and all that stuff. And it's the cheapest form of entertainment. It's free to download. It gives you great thrill, great dopamine, and you could really not just have passive consumption. You can have interactive entertainment happening, and while you are competing or collaborating, it's a social community platform. And you mentioned about COVID. What has happened here is that since you are at home, you really can't go out. 2-3 things which have really happened. One, gaming has become a social community platform. You come here, you compete, you converse, you connect. And second thing is, it has become a great family bonding. The families are bonding together. They're playing together on game, whether it's a simple game of Ludo, or it's a game which is PUBG. So families are understanding that there are many games which exist, and they are all playing on it. And that's the beauty of it, that every time it's a fresh entertainment as you keep moving along. So this is just the beginning, as we said. 350-360 million gamers is going to really grow to around 500-600 in next 2 years. Habits which would have taken to form around 3 to 4 years are getting formed in 6 months.
Yeah, so that acceleration has been provided courtesy COVID. But Nitesh, let me ask you about the opportunities. And we were talking about some of the trends that are now visible. For instance, this sort of multiplayer world, the digital interaction that we're seeing within the gaming community. Some of the other global trends, cloud gaming, according to the EY FICCI report, seems to be taking off. Legal sports gambling is now going mainstream. Poker possibilities in India. What do you see as the next triggers to really go from this 300+ million to, as Manish was pointing out, 500-600 million over the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think one of the very interesting trends I'm pretty excited about is that games are becoming your next social platforms. So internationally, you have seen, for example, Fortnite is an example. It's a large audience.
Well, we've lost
only the games over there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
So they're not only able to come and play the game within Fortnite, but they're discovering things like new music launches. They had earlier this year where there were 29 million people who attended a rock concert inside Fortnite. So I think games are becoming a lot, expanding beyond the original scope, becoming entertainment social platforms. And I think that's the future. You're going to see that further accelerated by introduction of virtual reality. It'll become a lot more immersive. So I think these are some of the very exciting trends globally, which we are also seeing emerge in India now.
Yes, we are certainly seeing those trends emerge here in India. But Nitish, let me ask you about what this means then in terms of appetite for further acquisitions. And you've done a whole bunch of them. I mean, from 2017 of mobile cricket to paperboat, in 2019. As you continue to build out this ecosystem and address different niches, is the acquisitive route going to be one that you will rely on, you will depend on?
So our focus is on building a large consumer base on a platform. Like you mentioned yourself, we have about 100 million monthly active users now, and we are seeing how we can cater to this user base, understand the needs better, and service the gaming need across a variety of demographics and evolution of the gamer themselves. So I think we will continue to build this user base, and wherever we can plug in our portfolio, we will definitely do more acquisitions as well as continue to build organic businesses. So I think it's a combination of both approaches that we will be following over the next couple of years. And globally, if you look at some of the large gaming conglomerates, there are having maybe 300 to 200 companies under their portfolio. So I think Nazara today with about 12, 13 companies is also just getting started.
It's only just getting started, and perhaps that is going to be a part of the growth strategy for you. But Sandeep, I'm looking at the numbers. You invested, 12 crore rupees in 2 tranches, 6 crores in 2005, 6 crores in 2007, made a partial exit at 500 crores in 2017 by selling 2/3 of your shareholding. I mean, what a story, Sandeep. But are you now actively looking for more Nazara-like opportunities in the Indian market?
Well, absolutely. Well, I just first wanted to compliment what Nitish has done for the fund and what Manish has done as he got at it with Nitish as like a co-pilot. Definitely there's lots of opportunities in the gaming industry, but the gaming industry tends to also be a winner-take-all. So there's not going to be a very large number of companies, and the few assets that have scaled and have gotten to critical scale and network effects, they are going to go on and on. And you're absolutely right. We hope that we can keep finding entrepreneurs like Nitish and CEOs like Manish who can really deliver the kind of success that they have for the fund.
I know it's an awkward question to ask you, Sandeep, but are you hoping for an IPO? Is an IPO on the cards anytime soon? Because there's been a lot of speculation on that front. We're given to understand that it's been delayed on account of external factors. But are investors now looking forward to an IPO?
Well, that's not an area for me to comment on. That's something that for Nitish and
I already caveated saying it's an awkward question to you.
Yeah, no, well, I think we are supportive of whatever the board and the management decides, is all I can say.
Okay, so let me put it to the two gentlemen who are possibly going to be taking that call and taking that proposal to the board. The timing, of course, is the big question mark. Nitish and Manish. Nitish, let me start by asking you, in the works, how soon is it an active consideration today?
Shireen, you'll get the set answer, right? That we're evaluating all opportunities and we'll do what is right. That's the best I can answer.
That's the best you'll do. Manish, okay, while you are evaluating opportunities, what about evaluating the opportunity or the possibility of a foreign listing? I mean, yes, we are still awaiting some more clarity from regulators, but if that option were to become a real possibility, what would be more exciting? Manish?
So what I believe is that we are here and we have built a very strong dominant position in India. People know us. We know a lot of the investors. There's a mutual respect, and from our perspective, India is going to be a super exciting market, as I mentioned in the earlier part of the conversation. And I believe this is where we have very, very strong tailwinds for gaming. You have a great appetite for tech stocks. So I would rather look at India and India market as a Karambhumi, if I may say, and evaluate all those options here, rather than trying to really go and understand markets which we could really evolve our understanding. But here is something which is all ready from an awareness point of view of Nazara. You said Nazara has been pretty much around. Nitish has built a great franchise, a great platform. So to me, India is a great opportunity, and we have been talking about evangelizing India as a gaming opportunity for over a decade now. And as we said, now it's going to be golden age for gaming, and I think India is the perfect market for that.
I think I got my answer. In India is our Karma Bhumi. I think more than Nitesh and Sandeep, you've given me more clarity, Manish, in the manner in which you responded to my question. But Sandeep, on that larger issue, and I don't want to get into the choices that Nazara will eventually make, but what does the IPO pipeline look like at this point in time for the Indian startup ecosystem? What's your own take on this foreign listing possibility and how that is likely to play out?
Well, I think one of the things that's unique to Indian market or Indian stock market is the Indian stock market tends not to reward companies that are investing into the future and don't have profits. So what that means is that Indian market generally allows for the companies to go list that have got good profit profile. Nazara is obviously one of those companies. There are many other markets around the world which can allow companies that may not be profitable today, but that have a good possibility of being profitable, good businesses over time. Generally, what I've seen is that companies that can list in India, they tend to go list in India because going to other markets, it's complicated, your business is here, everything is here. The branding effect of going public in India is always better. But companies that do not find the Indian market accepting of their proposition because the profits haven't yet shown up or there is no clear path to profits, they tend to look at markets outside India.
Yes, but I want to get Manish as well as Nitesh to give me a sense of what kind of appetite we're likely to see in terms of subscription of gaming services, platform fee, etc. Manish, if I take a look at the revenue, March 20, 264 crores versus 162 crores year on year, revenue growth of 60%. You've got cash on balance sheet to the tune of 175 crore rupees. In terms of monetization and the many options that you could consider there, what do you believe is opening up much more?
Shireen, if you look at India, gaming is going to be driven by three parameters. One is people really buying in-app purchase items within the games as both competitive, multiplayer scene increases, as well as the whole social entertainment part, where you will buy a t-shirt for your avatar, or you would buy a music for your friends to play inside the game, what Nitish was referring to. So in-app purchase globally have been the driver of gaming, whether it's in China or US. And the microtransaction part after demonetization and the whole multiplayer part after the improvement in the infrastructure and speeds, which allow you to play multiplayer over a mobile network, India is going to really see a lot of shift on people who play but don't pay to people who play and pay within the game. And that's going to be a big shift, behavioral change, which is going to happen, and it's going to get accelerated with events like COVID and as the per capita income increases, because it's a discretionary spend. That is going to be one key driver of the gaming in India. And on top of it is that as you have 100 million, 200 million people who are playing one or two single games, that really makes the market ripe for you to create an esports, which is where your media rights licensing really comes into picture, or brand sponsorship comes into picture, because you cannot reach a millennial and a Gen Z audience on a television or on a usual platforms. This is the only platform where they engage with you, interact with you, and immerse in your messaging. So from that perspective, if you look at, that's going to be very big driver of the gaming. And the more esports happen, the larger the in-app purchase happen, where they are symbiotic completely within each other. And given that India has a very large population of gamers, you will see many games becoming 100 million, 150 million plus monthly active user. And that creates a very strong recipe for esports and in-app purchase to grow. And that's going to grow very fast. Second thing, which I believe very strongly, and that's what is demonstrated in our portfolio, is the whole gamification of learning. Whether you look at learning happening gamification at very young, 2 to 8 year old, or it's happening, or implementation of it is in K-12, or in the more about your job market. But that's where the gamification of the learning is going to be very, very integral part. And we at Nazara are very passionate about this 2 to 8 year old phenomenon of that screens are inevitable, families are becoming nuclear, and kids are going to learn from the apps on the screens. How can you really create a content where it is edutainment, parents love it, kids love it, and getting parents and kids both to love the same content is very difficult because kids, the moment they smell that it's education, they run away. So that is where the fine balance really happens. But the gamification of that content, which really at the early stage, is going to really drive the whole gaming market. So I think that's a very key part. The third part is the real money gaming, which is very unique to India. Because of the low per capita income, there is a high hope of making money. And that's where you see a very, very fast growth of sports fantasy happening or a rummy happening. So those are the real money gaming spaces, which are going to really grow much faster.
Okay, so those are some of the trends to watch out for. But Nitesh, I want to come back to you. And I remember, I remember you said that you've always been a conservative entrepreneur and you've always been afraid of taking on debt or taking on too much risk. And that's been your strategy, and perhaps that has helped you ride out a lot of the turbulent times from the dot-com bust to where we are today. So Nitesh, for people who are looking at starting up, whether in gaming or outside, what is it that you tell them?
Sure. Shane, for us, the strategy worked because we were in the market probably way too in advance, right? When we started, and had we been a lot more aggressive in the early years, the business was really not there. And as the market was shaping up, and we would have burnt out, and therefore having a slightly conservative approach, strong focus on profitability allowed us to sustain in the early years and remain strong at this point of time when the opportunity ahead is much larger for us. So we've had the luxury of time to take our own sweet time and do things in a slightly more conservative manner. Of course, for startups today, the opportunities have become much larger. The ability to raise larger amounts of funds much faster because the investment, the venture capital market, the seed funding, angel funding, everything has evolved far more than what it was in the early 2000s in India. So I think the founders can afford to be a lot more aggressive. They have to make sure that they're not chasing vanity metrics. That's something that's an absolute no-no within Nazara in terms of chasing any vanity metrics. And as long as founders can remain true to themselves, the management teams can be courageous enough to look at the mirror every day and see the reality, I think they will all succeed. I would not today recommend everyone to be as conservative as perhaps we have been in the past, because the times were different. At the same time, Nazara's DNA continues to be slightly conservative, and therefore you see the way we have structured our business today also is across multiple business lines, multiple geographies, and that kind of diversifies risk for us. We continue to have an absolute animosity towards debt. That may be a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is, and we are a completely debt-free company. So that works for us, but different things may work for different entrepreneurs. So I can't really generalize it for everyone.
That is sure. I understand what you're saying, but I think that's pretty much been our philosophy here on Young Turks as well. Chase value, not valuation. That's what we've attempted to drive home for the last 19 years that we've been running this show. But gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and we wish you the very best of luck with Nazara. We would have loved to continue this interesting conversation. The world of gaming is certainly exciting, but unfortunately we're out of time. Sandeep Singhal, Manish Agarwal and Nitesh many thanks for joining us here on Young Turks, and here's wishing you all the luck. We'll take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.
We all